Words you were never meant to hear.
It's clear we're dealing with a cosmic Watergate.
This is the biggest secret in the history of the human rights, the known modern history of government.
Photos you were never meant to see. Video you never knew existed. People you were never meant to meet.
As Jack Nicholson would say, you can't handle the truth.
Essentially everything that you would want to know has been covered up.
Things you were never meant to know about.
Out in the universe, they were horrified. They said, oh my God, the kids have found the matches.
We are being engaged as a planet and as a species by other beings.
The biggest secret in the history of our world is about to be revealed.
We're dealing with a big, big story. It's not just them. As I said, if it was that simple, it would probably been out some time back. It's really about us.
Television show. I am your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and we have a very interesting show for you this evening. I'm also the founder of Conscious Evolution Media, and this show right now is live on YouTube Live as well as Google Plus Hangouts and ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. And I'm happy to announce our guest this evening. His name is Robert Miles. He is an author, a producer, and I'm sure many other things that we're going to find out throughout this hour. Welcome to the show, Robert, and he's joining us from Tennessee.
Well, thank you for having me this evening. Glad to be on your network there with you, Steve.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And of course, in Tennessee, everything is in slow motion, right?
Not really. It's actually just the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Must have changed since I lived there. Okay. All right. So let me just say that if I took away all your titles, like the author, producer, a friend, maybe a husband, a boyfriend, a father, a colleague, anybody that called you any other title that I'm not mentioning here throughout your life, if I took all this away, what's left? Who is really Robert Miles?
Well, I think Robert Miles is an adventurer. My whole life I've been into discovering new things and doing interesting things and going out and seeing the world and meeting people, and it's just been a fabulous life filled with lots of things that have expanded my consciousness and, of course, changed the way I've viewed the world.
Very interesting. So I'm sure we're going to get a closer view into this adventurous Robert Miles throughout the show, because we're going to cover, I think, maybe not from the very beginning of birth, but very soon after. You know, what happened to Robert, and why did you dedicate your life pretty much to this interesting subject of UFOs and UFO disclosure? And actually, that's the theme of the show today, is UFO disclosure. Actually, I added to it the lack of it from the U.S. government. And maybe you can start by, even before you go into the details about you, let's just cover this first big question, which is, why does the U.S. government not telling what they know about UFOs?
Well, that's a question that we've been probing for over 35 years, and the bottom line on it, I feel, is that they believe that the American public and the world in general just don't have the right to experience the benefits and the positive side of interaction with the alien races and the advanced technology that exists on this planet.
Are they concerned, do you think, that we might not be able to handle it?
Well, I think they're...
Like we fall apart?
No, I think they're handling it very well. They've kept it extremely well suppressed, even better than the Manhattan Project.
No, what I mean is, does the government think that if they tell us that we may not be able to handle it, like how we don't tell kids a lot of things because we don't think they can handle it?
Yeah, I don't think that really enters into the equation.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, I really don't, Steve. I think that they purposely are withholding the information for corporate reasons, for profit, finance, and control of the population.
Got it. All right, so tell us. We'll go in and out of this conversation as we go through the show, but let's get related to the viewers a little bit and just tell us a little bit about you and how you got to actually to today, just in a summary.
Well, good place to pick it up is after I graduated from high school, I went to college and worked in a shipyard building ships as a welder. And I was like most people in those days. It was a union making some good money. I had Corvettes. I raced Corvettes and had speedboats and did all the adventurous things I could do around Portland, Oregon. And then one day I ran into somebody down on the river when I had my speedboat, and they started talking about how the Columbia River is a gateway to a whole new world out there. And all of a sudden I got the dream of going out and building my own ship and sailing it to Hawaii and going out and exploring the world. So after...
hang on for a second. What years were you in Portland, Oregon? This is amazing.
Actually, I graduated from high school in Portland in 1960.
Okay.
So I actually arrived in Portland about 1956.
Where were you? Where were you in 1980?
In 1980, I was probably in...
Because I was in Portland.
Oh, you were in Portland then. Yeah. No, Portland's too rainy.
Okay.
In 1980, I would have been in Phoenix, Arizona, and also San Diego, California, back and forth, because at that time I had an ad agency that was servicing clients in both California and Arizona. So
that's funny. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we could have met because I lived in Portland, Oregon for years, and I actually had all my kids born there. And I also lived in San Diego, so it's funny. Okay, yeah. Continue. Sorry.
Okay, well, so anyway, so I got this dream, and I built a ship, rebuilt an old sailing vessel that was a replica of Joshua Slocum's ship that he sailed around the world. And it was too slow and too old-fashioned, so I found out about these new vessels called trimarans. They have 3 hulls, and I built a trimaran in Portland, Oregon, had a great partner, and everybody said we were going to drown. We didn't know how to sail, really. We never sailed in the ocean, didn't know how to navigate, but we went ahead and built it, sailed down the Columbia River, took a left, and headed down the California coastline, hit a big storm, missed San Francisco completely, and then I ended up in Monterey, kissed the ground, wondered if I'd ever get back on the ship again, and of course we did, and ultimately sailed that vessel to Hawaii and lived on it for 2 years, sailing around the islands, enjoying the Hawaiian experience, and ended up in Alawai Yacht Harbor.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's almost as adventurous as me escaping from Hungary.
Well, I'm sure that was an adventure.
Because I never knew where I was going to put my head down, for a while. Interesting. Yeah. All right. So do you think we can fast forward to your actual UFO experience, which was not an abduction? It was you were actually participating willingly. Could you share that with the viewers?
Well, yeah, we left off there at Alawai Yacht Harbor, there right in downtown Honolulu, and actually over a period of the 2 years I kind of lost my dream to sail, so we sold the boat, and on the morning that we were going to pick the new owner was coming to pick it up, I got up real early, about 4 o'clock, put the coffee on, got a cup, went back to my bunk, looking out through the hatch, sitting on my bed there in my stateroom, a beautiful Hawaiian sky, and then all of a sudden the most incredible energy just seemed to to emanate throughout my stateroom. And the only thing I could describe it as is almost ecstasy. And then all of a sudden, a beautiful woman materialized in my stateroom. And of course, I thought I was dreaming or hallucinating, and it just couldn't be real. But it turned out that she said, I said, you can't be real. I'm dreaming, hallucinating. She said, no, I'm not. I'm very real. And I said, well, why are you here? And she said, I'm here to invite you to a briefing. And all you have to do is agree to go, and we'll be on our way. And of course, I mean, I couldn't turn down an opportunity like that. So she said, just
did you have a choice? Did you have a choice?
Oh yeah, of course I had a choice, but I can only describe the feeling. People are familiar, like with 110 electrical current, they stick their finger in a light socket or get shocked. Well, this is with like 440. It was just incredible, and it just permeated my whole being. My whole resonant frequency just heightened to a point it was almost indescribable. And so she said, just close your eyes and decide you're there. And I said, oh no, I can't do that. I've tried that. And she said, no, we'll help you. And I closed my eyes, and the next thing I knew, I was.
Well, wait a minute, Robert. When a beautiful woman tells me to close my eyes, I always do it. I never question it.
Yeah. Well, she also told me to go up the ticket window, and when I got to LaGuardia Airport there, and get a ticket for the Jupiter flight. And of course, I mean, this just sounds so bizarre.
A Jupiter flight. What airport was this leaving from?
LaGuardia Airport.
Okay.
And all around me there.
Did you see flights going or advertised going to other planets?
No. Well, no, I didn't. What I saw was the ticket window there. I walked up the ticket windows, asked for a ticket on the Jupiter flight, feeling really stupid. And she said, here it is. And she said, just go over to that bank of elevators there. And I did that. I went up a couple of flight stories, came out onto a area there, and was escorted into a beautiful craft, which just seemed like a first-class cabin portion. Was seated. Next to me was a porthole. They said we'd be taking off in just a few minutes, and in just a few minutes I looked out the porthole, and I saw Earth, and it was getting smaller and smaller. Within a very short time it landed, and I disembarked from the craft, and it was the most incredible experience. The radiant energy was just so phenomenal. The sky was pulsing colors, vivid colors, every color of the rainbow. And that same energetic feeling, that resonant frequency was just so incredible that it's just hard to describe. And of course, it's also hard to explain.
Yeah, I don't know where I read this, Robert, but I read somewhere that this figure is conservative, that there are at least 500 quadrillion planets in the universe. Now, if that's a conservative figure, which I probably believe it is, how is it possible that we would be the only beings on this planet called Earth?
Yeah, of course we're not. And some of our later research has turned up that there's probably as many as 51 different civilizations visiting us on the planet, come and go at will. And one of the things that was so incredible about this, Steve, is that what I was aboard was a shuttle, and it looked like a saucer. When I disembarked, it looked like a conventional saucer, about the size of a 747 in size. But they say these shuttles come and go from planet Earth every day, and it's not an unusual event at all.
Wow, that's fascinating stuff. All right, so is this the event that really got you sparked your interest in continuing research in this subject matter of UFOs and aliens?
Well, it did far more than spark my interest, because once I disembarked from the craft, I was taken to a briefing. I went inside to a building, beautiful structure. Most of it was buried below ground, along with perhaps maybe another 50 people were actually at the briefing. And while I was there, I was shown, or rather experienced, uh, what could be called the destiny of the planet, the possible destiny. I saw earthquakes, volcanoes, I saw apocalyptic events, but I also saw harmonic Earth. And what it comes down to is that we have a choice. You know, we have free will. We can create on this planet whatever we choose to create. And at that time, I was asked to take on a mission, and I did that to help use my skills in writing and radio and advertising and television, and to try to undertake what has come to be known as Safe Base Project. And I've been dedicated to that ever since, and that's been over 43 years.
Yeah, very interesting. Now you mentioned there that I'm curious that you've been dedicated to this work for how long now? 3 decades?
Over 3 decades, 4. Yeah.
It's coming on to 4. And what's interesting to me is that 95% of the population, I'm experiencing them as really not having free will. It seems to me that they are completely being controlled by a software program like the Matrix.
Yeah, it sure seems like it, doesn't it? You really have to pop out of it. You really have to take the red pill.
You do have to take the red pill, yes.
Yeah.
It seems to be a lot of people, millions and millions, actually, probably billions of people on this planet have taken the blue pill because it's comfortable, it's easy, and they don't have to worry about a thing, just kind of follow whatever the program says. What do you think about that? What is the purpose of that? What do you think the purpose of that is?
Well, I think, first of all, we can't be too hard on people because people are so involved in just trying to survive. And, those of us here in America, you came from Hungary, so you even saw a darker side of life. But people are so involved, even in the United States, in just how do we pay for our food? How do we fill our gas tank? How do we get our kids to school? How do we cope with just living? So in the few minutes that they have left in a day, most of them just try to relax or try to do something that mellows out their life. And and then
the next day they repeat it.
I say they just try to mellow out their life, but you've chosen a path, and the ups and downs. My choices have had tremendous ups and downs. Everything from people call me absolutely crazy to it's been a little easier in the more recent years because now we have quantum physics and they're talking about the multiverse and they're talking about multiple dimensions and all the different scientific aspects of it. But the path that you've chosen, of course, your network and your shows, lead people to exploration and discovery. And I think we have to look at it this way. I mean, it's a challenge to break out of become part of the 5% that you mentioned.
Yes, I agree. And really, if I look back at my life when I was not conscious and not awake, I wasn't questioning. I wasn't asking these questions that we've been even beginning to talk about on the show. I just lived day to day, like you said, trying to survive moment to moment.
Yeah.
And that's really, really the key, is to be able to get beyond trying to survive. Because if I look back, if there is anything humanity is a master of, is to be able to survive.
Yeah.
We don't need to learn more about that, or we don't need to. Every one of us has a master's degree or PhD in surviving because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, and part of that survival, is the impingement of our way of life on other species. and look at the destruction and the havoc that the human species is wreaking on the planet. And it's not just on other species, it's also on humanity itself. And every day I'm reminded of the events that I was briefed on, and every day I become more and more concerned, that soon we have to make some changes. Otherwise, we're going to face some apocalyptic events, and people better get their go bag ready, and they better grow a victory garden for food because it's getting serious out there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I actually did a show last year. I think it was back in November, or maybe it was in October. I can't remember exactly. But I did a show about one of our fast food chains that is being marketed, and it's been very, they've been very clever to create this buzz about themselves that they are the quote-unquote healthy choice. Well, their bread includes 142 ingredients that you will not find in your kitchen.
Oh boy.
And on February 6th this year, it became public that they are using these chemicals in their bread. And now, of course, because it's public, they are willing to remove it. Isn't that nice?
That's wonderful. Yeah, they're gonna take it out and put in 145 different.
That's right. As they're removing it, they're putting in something else that they're not going to tell us about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's just how it is.
Yeah, but my life has been a great adventure, and a lot of what I'm working on now, a lot of the projects that we're doing, and Fast Walkers, the film that we did is a special project. Mm-hmm. These things have impact on the population, and they're certainly worth doing, and they're very challenging because, for the most part, we pay for these things out of our own pocket.
Right, and I looked at your website on Fast Walkers, and you want to mention the website for people to check out. But when I looked at it, I was absolutely mesmerized and amazed of the quality of the people that you put together, and I didn't count them because there were too many to count. But probably almost 100 people from all over the world that are either scientists, PhDs, they may be pilots, and people that have dedicated a very large portion of their life, and their passion is to look into the subject matter, the UFO phenomenon. And it's just an amazing work that you put together, and I'm sure it took more than a few hours. And what kind of an impact have you been making? I know you showed it in Canada. You took it to our government. What kind of a result did you get?
Well, first of all, let's just say it was a team project. Nothing is ever done of that magnitude without having a great team, and I had a great team doing it. But the film, when it was released, gained appeal pretty quickly, and we were able to premiere it in my hometown in Arizona, Northeast Arizona, when I lived there. Then we also had a big showing in Phoenix, sold out. Then we went on to Toronto, Canada. Paul Hellyer, who was the Parliament's vice president, that DVD went on to become a product that was given to every single person in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives, the presidential staff, the Space Command. Then it was given to the entire Canadian Parliament, as well as becoming the #1 selling DVD of its kind in the world. And actually, it's available on Netflix now, and also is going to go into re-release later this summer. But we had over 3 million illegal downloads on Google and YouTube, and it was pirated within 3 days, and DVDs being sold in Europe. within a week. So it had an amazing impact out there, and a lot of people enjoyed it, and we had some phenomenal contribution from the people in it.
Fantastic. Can you just mention maybe just a couple of people that really stood out for you? I know that I'm putting you in the hot seat, but how do you pick two people out of 100? But there's got to be some people that really stood out in terms of their knowledge and experience.
Absolutely. Of course, we had Dr. Stephen Greer, and we had Jim Mars, who was just a phenomenal Texas journalist. And we had Alfred Weber, who was President Carter appointed him to investigate the UFO phenomena. And then he was told that he could no longer do that, and he was removed. We had Wendell Stevens, who was a military man that was a pilot and was in charge of Project Grudge up in Alaska. We had Graham Bethune, who actually ended up in Project Blue Book. He was flying a DC-3 and actually had a UFO follow them along. We had just an amazing number of, like Len Horowitz, who wrote the book on Ebola and AIDS. We had oh, you got me on the spot, Steve. There are just so many of them that wonderful people that Monsignor Corraldo Balducci, who was
from the Vatican,
Pope's representative. He actually came and spoke and gave us an interview, and we had the only interview that was translated to English, where he actually spoke about that God had many kingdoms and many planets. So and that actually brought about quite a revelation for over 1 billion Catholics on Earth. That if they thought about UFOs or about ETs, it wasn't demonic. So Paula Harris was there. Charles Hall, who is a weatherman at Area 51 and interacted with the Tall Whites. Just an amazing group, and it was very, very difficult because these people only got a couple of minutes in the film, and then later we went on to do Fast Walker's Open Files, which is a series of DVDs where 2 to 3 of these individuals are given 30, 45 minutes apiece, and we have those on our website. There's 5 volumes of that. And then there's also the UFO Chronicles, which is coming out, and the first one is What the President Didn't Know. That's from Reality Entertainment. So, there's a lot of information.
Is there going to be one where the title is What the President Didn't Know That He Didn't Know?
Yeah, there is one that's just come out called You Can't Handle the Truth.
That's great. So where viewers can go get some of these videos if they would like?
Well, the best place is the www.lycandroids.com, LYCANDROIDS. That's a website that's under construction. Or they can just go to fastwalkers.com, or they can go to Reality Entertainment, or they can just key it into
Google
Amazon.
Your name. They can Google your name.
Yeah, just Google my name.
All over the place.
Yeah, Fastwalkers with an S. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so you mentioned Safe Space, the Safe Space project earlier. What is your intention there for the future? I'm really curious about that.
Well, that's really the dream. The Safe Space project, the goal of the project is a world without the war and hunger and starvation and the inhumanity. So our future is to continue to put out films, as well as I'd love to build this new advanced ship, because over my past 30-some years, I've designed and built 4 ships, and the next one's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be one of the most advanced trimaran hydrofoil sailing vessels in the world, using composite, and if it has to be, and we hope it won't, it would be kind of a safe place to be if the world goes down that track, and I certainly hope it doesn't.
Right. And so this subject matter, UFOs and the UFO disclosure or the lack of, this is a subject matter that's being brought up more and more now everywhere with the public. not necessarily in commercial television. But I'm curious. People mostly really go. The place they go is we are being visited from somewhere. From one of those 500 quadrillion planets we are being visited. Or maybe some UFO ships have crashed on the planet and then they take off on that conversation. And that's the norm. Well, what about the conversation that what if they have been here all along?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're actually right on to it. I think that it goes clear back to the Atlanteans, and I think we've had a very, very advanced, high technological society on this planet for literally tens of thousands of years. There's no question they had spacecraft. There's no question that there exists what we call a breakaway civilization. And so many people on this planet think when they see this brand new jet that comes out, this is really something, or a stealth bomber. But Steve, the technology is 100, maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000 years advanced over what the general population knows about.
And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting, Robert, that the military, before the public actually knows about this technology or technologies, the military knows about it for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And they use it. And then once they're bored with it, then they let us know about it.
Yeah, and most people don't realize, that there's actually a secret space command out there, and this poor guy Gary McKenna stumbled on it from England, that hacker, but NASA is mostly a front organization for the secret space program, and that's one of the reasons we wrote the book Like Androids, which is a new book we've just put out, is because it's set in 2017, talking about the Freedom War that happened in 2015, and the overlords have a big role in that, and the real question is, have the overlords always been here? Are we a product of the overlords, or are the overlords off planet? Some people would liken them to the fallen angels. Other people would just say they're an alien species that's very malevolent. So, I certainly don't have all the answers, but I keep asking questions and keep looking, just like you do.
Okay, so this new book that was just released, is it available now on your website?
Yes, it is. It's available on Amazon. It's on Kindle, and it's really a twofold book. It tells a story of what happened in the United States and around the world when the Vendetta virus took down the entire internet and the grid. But it also tells the story of a very real creature, and this creature is very real. It's a woofin-like creature that we call a lycandroid, because it's actually a super soldier, we think, that was developed by possibly the New World Order, the Fourth Reich, the Illuminati, you call it whatever you might, by the secret government, and it was loosed upon the planet. And there's literally thousands of people that disappear, and in the back of the book we actually have 35 pages of actual incidents of people encountering this creature and surviving. So the book is a science fiction setting, but it has this real creature that runs through it, and of course we've garnished the creature a little bit with abilities. Yeah.
So what would be the purpose of a creature like this to be let loose on the planet?
An ultimate weapon, that's such a killer. I mean, it has no likeness to a Bigfoot. I mean, this is a ferocious 800-pound creature. Kills horses, kills cattle, kills people. It's absolutely a beast, incredibly dangerous, and very real. And their purpose in doing it was control of it until the internet was taken down. And then once they lost contact with the satellites and with their control grid, they were no longer able to control it. And so these are loosed out into the world, and it's not just in forested areas. They come right into the city. We have instances of them coming right into Chicago. So
Well, that's
it's
fascinating stuff.
It's an interesting book. Yeah.
All right. So what if is it possible that maybe we as human beings, maybe an experiment from some of those, not necessarily the lycandroid creatures, but some very advanced alien creatures that were playing around with DNA and planted some stuff here, planted some there, and they've been watching us to see how the experiment turns out. And what if they're not happy? What if they're not happy with what we, how far we came, and with all this technology is actually advancing much faster now than we are. I'm hoping that human beings' evolution can speed up just as fast as technology has.
Well, there certainly was a soup created, and some of us came out of the soup probably. I don't know whether or not we're a disappointment to them. Perhaps we're simply a game, something that they enjoy, like people, enjoy their little ant colonies. But the one thing is for sure is that there's some of us out there that want to know what's going on, Alfie. And I think we're having some breakthroughs. One of the people I really want to give credit to is Steve Bassett, who puts on the X Conference, and also the people that put on the conference there in Phoenix. Just tremendous that they reach out and they have these great speakers and they go to all this effort to pull the information together. Wonderful, wonderful Steve Greer and all of them putting out this information. So the world is changing, and with technology, as long as we can keep the internet up and networks like yours and shows like yours going, there's hope out there. There really is, and thank you for having me on.
Well, you're very welcome, and I still say, Robert, that information is fantastic, and a lot of people refer to information as power, and I must say that from my perspective, to me, information is useless unless I know what to do with it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And so I'm curious as to what do you feel human beings need to do in order to make it in the next 100 years?
The next 100 years. Oh my goodness! I thought you were going to talk about next year.
You know why I say the next 100 years?
Why is that?
It's because I plan to live that long.
Well, and we should. There's no reason why we shouldn't. The next 100 years will take us probably so far beyond our imagination, or if the game rolls out the way that I think it's designed, 95% of the population of the Earth will be exterminated, and the planet will go back to a feudal society. The Georgia Guidestones pointed out clearly in 12 languages the population of the Earth should be 500 million. And there's so much evidence that there's a reaping coming. And we have to prepare for that. So I don't know, Steve. I think you probably know more about the next 100 years than I do. But I'll tell you what I'm doing.
I know nothing. If you think I know something, then I fooled you real well. I know nothing.
What I'm doing is I'm growing a garden and planting as much good vegetables as possible. In addition to that, I got a great water filter that takes radiation out of the water. I've got a go bag, and I hope we never have to use it. I got a solar energy panel I'm going to put up, so if the electricity goes down, but just like everybody else, I'm going to continue to work on films, work on books, and continue to meet terrific people out there that are really changing things. And there's some people, that are willing to give not only a few bucks of money to buy a DVD or a book, but they're actually willing to give their life. And it's a pretty serious matter out there. You don't have to go very far to turn on your TV, and you can see what some countries are going through. And in the book Lycandroids, our country in the year 2015 goes through the same thing.
Right. I have played with this idea or this notion that, like where I'm from Hungary, we've been around for over 1,000 years. And the U.S. has only been around a little over 200 years. So, when things get a little bit rough and tough here, I'm curious, how people will respond, because a lot of times I feel that people in the United States have become very, very lazy, and it didn't used to be that way. But it's turning out that way these days. When I look around, is that there's those of us that are doing the work, and there's those of us that choose not to.
Yeah, we're confronted with that dilemma, on every level. And you're absolutely right. The generation that we came from, my dad worked 2 jobs his entire life. Most of us, as we worked our way through college or whatever we did, we paid a pretty high price for becoming, not prosperous. We went through that prosperous era. But these days, most people, the kids, they're on their computers and they're playing video games, and there's a whole generation of parents that are scrambling to make sure they have a good life and a college education. So
why work, Robert, if you can get food stamps?
Well,
you can get a phone for free.
Yeah.
Why work? And you can take your food stamps now and take it to fast food places, and they will accept it. Some of them.
Yeah, but
everything is changing. Not just for the best, but for the worst.
Yeah.
It's changing on both ends of the cycle.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on too, but there's a lot of that going away. And just right here in Chattanooga last night on the TV, they're going to reduce the pension fund for the firemen and the police department by 40%.
I mean, Robert, I'm finding myself in a conundrum because I escaped from a communist country because I just couldn't deal with the lies and how the top 10% of the country controlled the rest of the 90%. And I hate to say this, and I love this country called the United States of America, but I'm having all these I'm having these replays that I've seen and I felt this before. It's almost like a bad dream. Like, what the heck is going on?
And it's not just, Steve, it's not just in the United States. It's worldwide now. It's spread. There used to be the Iron Curtain, and that curtain doesn't exist anymore. The whole world's encompassed by it, I feel.
And it's what you fight and what you fear is what you become.
Yeah. So what we have to do, we have to continue to get the word out. And I think it's important. Many people out there haven't even seen fast walkers. Many people out there have never attended the X conference or the conference in Phoenix. And unfortunately, when you looked at the demographics of the people that go, most of them have gray hair or no hair. So,
That's weird because a lot of the young people love science fiction and love the subject of UFOs. And I'd like to invite everybody now that are watching the show or going to be watching it once we replay it, is to do what just Robert said, is to check out Fast Walkers, check out the Safe Space Project, check out Like Androids, because these are very interesting things, and people, I feel, need to be responsible. Do not wait for the government to tell you the truth. You can find the truth just by doing your own education and get to it yourself. I mean, that's how I get to my truth. I don't wait for people to tell me.
Yeah. Well, it's really a great experience to watch somebody. My son, who's a television producer in Phoenix, he went to shoot those interviews for Fast Walkers to the conferences. And when he first went, he thought his old man was absolutely crazy because, of course, I told him about my experiences. He grew up with knowledge as a kid. But as he began to come in contact and he began to find out who these people are and began to research the information, it really brought a different level of understanding. But it doesn't mean that he believes everything that he hears or sees or says. But more and more people do change, and people do get involved. So it's exciting, and that's why you do your show, because you're tapped into that energy, you're tapped into that frequency, and as you build that frequency, it impacts on people. And hopefully that impact lasts more than just an hour show. That impact lasts long enough to help them take a look at their life and think about the safety and what's happening with their family and with our world.
Well, yeah, it impacted me for my life, for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do anything else other than what I'm doing, because that's my passion and that's my love. And I agree with you. And I think education and being just responsible for ourselves. I think I can't find anything really more important than that. So
yeah. Well, I'm really blessed, Steve, because it took us a long time. Fast Walkers took 2.5 years of dedicated work to produce and put out, and now as a result of that and some other things that I've worked on and done, I have distribution, and I'm able to get my information out there thanks to Reality Entertainment and Warren Crow, and also thanks to like Amazon and CreateSpace, and to this new form of delivery that's just phenomenal. So if people will just take advantage of it, and people are, the word will spread. But you also know that things have to get really uncomfortable before people sometimes take an action that's a little different than they take every day. You know what I'm saying, Steve?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, but luckily, every day there are lots of people that get uncomfortable, and that's the good news. Maybe not all 7 billion of us become uncomfortable all at once. I mean, what would happen? But I think systematically every day there's lots of people that become uncomfortable, and they all have an opportunity then to make a different choice and to live the life that they came here to live. It's like really our entire network, and I want to make sure I repeat this again, it's all about all of us to go inside of ourselves. The truth is right here. It's in here. The truth is not out there, although educating ourselves and looking at information helps us to go inside and ask the right questions. But the answers are all there. And my truth is not that different from yours, because if it was, you and I wouldn't have connected. The truth is pretty much the same everywhere in the world and probably in the universe. And when we hear it and feel it, we know it. And that's what I call being touched, moved, and inspired. I don't want followers. I don't know if you do, Robert.
No, thanks.
I want to touch, move. I want to touch, move, and inspire people. And if they can feel the frequency, they can feel being touched by something. That's fantastic. But I don't want them to follow me. I want them to follow themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, and go out and go out and experience the world from this new point of view, from this changed point of view, because it's just incredible what we're going through right now, just here in the United States with these weather conditions and this whole experience of things being different. And I think we're going to see a lot of that, and I think it's going to give people time to reflect about, maybe life is changing, and maybe there is more than just having that new BMW or that new house, and that type of thing. Maybe it's time to explore something at a little different level.
Hmm. Go inside, young man. Go inside.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's where the magic is.
Yeah.
It's not out there. It's not out there in shiny objects. So let's mention some of the things that are coming up for you What are you working on?
Right now, we're developing the motion picture script for Like Android Super Soldiers in the Freedom War. And it's our hope to be able to make that a general release motion picture. And these things take time. So we're in the screenplay draft stage on that one. I'm also producing another documentary for UFO Chronicles, which will be and some more in-depth interviews from some of these great people. Steve, we have 150 hours of high-definition video interviews shot of terrific people that we just haven't had a chance to get out there for people to experience. Although the UFO Chronicles, I think, are releasing five DVDs this season, so we'll be working on projects like that. And then, of course, my larger dream of building the ship. I mean, if that becomes possible, it'll become possible because people are gathered together to help contribute their knowledge and skills. We need everything from composite experts to 3D artists to people that understand anti-gravity. We need a propulsion unit for that vessel that doesn't burn diesel fuel. So that's the goal, and that's the thing we're working on. And then there's a second book in the Like Android saga called Stargazer. So we're busy here.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I am very excited about working on some projects with you, especially as you know our network has been on PBS since public television since last year. And I would love to take some of these videos to public television because there are over 100 million eyeballs, and to get people, we need to get people to see these things. So I'll be working with you on how to get some of these shows underwritten and get it in front of a lot of people, because I think that's where the potential for education and support will come from.
Yeah, well, I want to thank people like my son, who's a terrific television editor and cameraman and producer. Also, there's Randy Harrigan at the UFO store. He's been so supportive. Warren Crow with Reality Entertainment. There's just so many people, and I love to work with you and your network and with all the people out there every day on Facebook, every day on LinkedIn. I get dozens of new friends, and although I lost my original Facebook page that had a couple of thousand, but there's just so many great people out there that do want to connect and are volunteering to help, and it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us. I've got Leslie Mitz, my fiance, and also my editor, and also helps contribute to the stories. So my life is blessed. I got a wonderful family, and I got guys like you, and your gal Nan. She's terrific. You got a good team there, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've been at it for a few hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the show is coming to an end here pretty soon, but I'd like to maybe cover a few more interesting things, especially I wanted to ask you about the phenomenons, about all this hardware, all these ships, and I don't know, in the last several decades, in your estimation, how many spaceships have landed on our planet because of some trouble that they had, and the government took it over and hid it somewhere? What's that number?
Oh, I wouldn't know for sure the number that have landed due to technical problems, but we've got craft landing here every day. In some country of the world, you follow some of the sites that are just coming down because of it. But there's so many reports. Wendell Stevenson and Stanton Friedman, another person that was in Fast Walkers, he chronicled 3 crashes in New Mexico back in the 40s. There's been numerous crashes. Some in Germany. There's been some in the Russian territory back there. The Germans, they investigated crashes back during the Third Reich. You've got you've got hardware on the ground and in storage bunkers and underground and being back engineered and all of this going on, because this is happening on so many different levels. I mean, this program is compartmentalized. People don't necessarily know the whole story. They may work in a facility in an area just down the way there. There's a spacecraft sitting there, but we've been told that there's over 4,000 pictures Wendell Stevens had of a different craft. And so people wonder, well, where's the pictures for UFOs? Well,
Robert, is Area 51 real, or is that just something the government put out there to keep us fascinated?
No, Area 51 was very real. Charles Hall, who was in Fast Walkers, was the weatherman out there at Indian Springs for 2 years, and he interacted with the Tall Whites, and they had shuttles coming and going. They had all types of spacecraft. They had interaction between the U.S. military, between corporate business people and the Tall White race. And that's just one example. Area 51, there's another one, Groom Lake, which is out in, I believe it's Australia. There's a new base in Utah, I understand. The only reason they're putting out the information on Area 51 is that's old news. And the new
are you saying that Microsoft and Apple were part of the meetings?
Part of the meetings?
Yeah, you said corporate people.
Well, I don't know if they were, but I know that a lot of the technology was back engineered from the earlier things that were recovered. And Colonel Coso, in his book The Day After Roswell, documents how that technology was integrated into the American business corporations, and many of the Nobel Prizes and things that's been awarded have been based on information that's been given by the military or by the intelligence community to private enterprise. And hey, Ben Rich, who was the head of Lockheed Skunks Works, when he retired, he says, we have the technology to take E.T. home and bring him back again. And that guy retired 10 years ago.
So who gets to decide what part of the private sector gets these goodies?
Who gets to decide? I would say that that decision is made probably based on how good you are at acting. Kevin Spacey last night on House of Cards, he was on with Jon Stewart.
I love him. He's a fantastic actor.
He was on with Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart asked him, is Washington really like that? He says, what do you think? And he says, a lot of bad actors. So who gets it? It's certainly not the Congress. I mean, going to Congress and asking them to release the information on technology and on UFOs. And I mean, we beat that horse to death. I went to the X conference 3 times with Steve Bassett. God bless him. He's a lobbyist there, the only registered lobbyist in Washington for UFOs. And he just keeps hammering away, and he's got his film The Truth embargo, which hopefully will get funded and get out soon. I love him. He's like a bulldog. He won't turn loose. He's going to get those. But, after all those DVDs were delivered to Congress, we've got no response from the government. We did have a thing from the Washington Post and a few interviews, that type of thing. But look at what happened with the Phoenix Lights here. This big spacecraft comes over Phoenix. The governor turns it into a joke, and then 3 or 4 years later, he said the reason he did that, he saw it, it was real, but the reason he did it, he didn't want to panic the public. I mean, it's sad, Steve. I think we can handle it. I know you can handle it.
Yeah, well, if that beautiful woman comes over tonight and asks me to go, I will close my eyes immediately.
Yeah. Hey, and they can help you do it. I guarantee it. Because I couldn't do it on my own, and I still can't do it on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, awesome. All right, so let's just spend just a couple of minutes on what information would you like to give out to the public as to where do you want them to go? What do you want them to check out from all your work and all your books and videos?
Well, they can go on and Google me, and they can go to the Safe Space Project website or the Fast Walkers website. We're real proud of our new book, Like Android Super Soldiers in the Freedom War. We think it's a great story, but it's got the real creature as well, and it also points out what people need to think about if they're going to survive if conditions get worse. So, they should check out Like Android Super Soldiers in the Freedom War on Amazon, and then also, check out the UFO Chronicles, this whole new series that's come out, and also Fast Walkers Open Files. They can get great trailers for free. There's streaming available. Thanks to the technology of the internet, you don't have to buy a DVD anymore, and even Netflix got Fast Walkers. So, it's
wow,
it's
available.
Cool. It's available out there, and also I want them to go out and just research for themselves. Discover the information, and lend a hand on spreading the news, especially about shores like yours.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, would it be useful? Have you thought about, creating an ongoing show that would really educate the public? Has that crossed your mind?
Yeah, it's crossed my mind, but it takes a staff, and it takes a lot of time, and you know how much hard work it is just to produce a show. So for a while I worked with Jerry Pippin, a wonderful guy with jerrypippin.com. He does radio shows. I worked with him and was on once or twice a week. So certainly I think there's a need for it. I even think there's a market for it, and I know there's a niche for it. And so, the late night radio shows do a good job. It'd be wonderful, Steve, to have a series, and and I'd love to work with you on something like that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, so we did it again as usual. We are at the end of the 5-minute, 1-hour show, and I really appreciate you, Robert. I mean, you are a fascinating guy. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours about this stuff, and we really I feel personally that we just scratched the surface here, because this thing goes so deep. I mean, this is just like, take the blue pill or the red pill, and if you take the red pill, I'll show you how deep the rabbit is, because this rabbit hole goes pretty darn deep.
Yeah. Well, there's great people out there, Steve, and you're reaching them, and I appreciate your help in getting our information out there for us as well.
Yeah, thank you for being on the network, Robert, and doing what you do, and the passion that you have for this subject matter. I love it, and I hope a lot of our viewers will get a lot of good information, and they will get a little bit deeper into getting the answers within themselves. So I love you all.
We are being engaged as a planet and as a species by other beings.
Essentially everything that you would want to know has been covered up.
We're dealing with a big, big story.
It's clear we're dealing with a cosmic Watergate.
We are being engaged as a planet and as a species by other beings.
Rumor is that they eventually moved most of the saucers that they had at the S4 facility to someplace called Area 6413 in Utah.
But all that data is born classified.